In 1960, a doctor drove up into the hills of eastern Kentucky looking for a family that was supposed to be blue. Not bruised, not cold, blue. Blue lips, blue hands, skin the shade of a storm coming in. He was a blood specialist, and he expected to find sick people. Instead, he found a family that was perfectly healthy. The answer would turn out to be a single missing enzyme and a cure almost too neat to believe, a blue dye that could turn them pink in minutes. This isn't a ghost story, it's a blood story. One of the first encounters outside the family came in a county clinic. A woman walked in for something unrelated and reportedly startled the nurse on duty, Ruth Pendergrass. The woman was blue from head to foot, calm, even, and completely unbothered by it. Her people lived back along Troublesome Creek, a fold of Appalachia with no railroad and barely a road. For more than a century, that isolation had kept a secret in the family's blood. One with a name the outside world had never bothered to learn. Here is what made it a genuine puzzle. Blue skin usually means one thing: you are not getting enough oxygen. A failing heart, a collapsing lung, a freezing night. But these people were healthy. They split wood, raised children, lived into their 80s. The clue that cracked it wasn't their skin at all. It was their blood. When it was drawn, it didn't run bright red. It ran a dark chocolate brown, and it stayed brown in the open air. So stay with me, because the answer isn't a curse or bad luck or anything they did. It's a single missing enzyme and a cure with an almost impossible symmetry. To find where it started, you have to go back to about 1820 and to a settler named Martin Fugate. By the old family accounts, he arrived at Troublesome Creek as a French orphan, married a local woman named Elizabeth Smith, and was, the stories say, blue himself. What is clearer is what came after. Several of their children were born with that same impossible color. A blue father, a house full of blue children, and for well over a century, no one who could say why. The answer is genetics, but not the cruel version this story usually gets told as. Martin and Elizabeth each carried one silent copy of a rare recessive gene. On its own, a single copy does nothing. You would never know you had it. You only turn blue if you inherit two copies, one from each parent, and for that, both parents have to carry the very same rare gene. In a city, the odds are almost nothing. But Troublesome Creek had no roads out, and families married the neighbors they had. Isolation didn't curse the Fugates, it simply made a rare gene far more likely to meet itself. The most famous of them was a woman named Lunan. By every account, she was the bluest Fugate who ever lived. Blue all over, her lips dark as a plum. She married, raised 13 children, and lived to be 84. And that is the part people forget. By all accounts, the blue caused her little beyond the stares of strangers. Whatever was different in her blood, it carried no real pain, no weakness, no shortened life. It only changed the color. So what was it? The oxygen in your blood is carried by hemoglobin, and the iron at its heart has to be in exactly the right form to grab and release it. Sometimes, a little of that iron flips into a locked form called methemoglobin, which holds no oxygen and turns the blood brown. Normally, that's no problem, because an enzyme, NADH cytochrome B5 reductase, quietly converts it back every second of your life. The Fugates were born with a severe shortage of that enzyme. So the locked brown form simply built up until it tinted them blue from the inside out. This is where our doctor comes in. His name was Madison Cawein, a hematologist at the University of Kentucky, and he refused to treat the family like a sideshow. He tracked them through the hills, sat at their kitchen tables, and ran the tests. The numbers told the story. A typical person carries well under 1% methioglobin. The Fugates were running many times that. He had his diagnosis, now he wanted to know if he could undo it. His cure is the strangest, most elegant part of the whole story. If their blood was stuck in the locked brown form because the normal repair enzyme was missing, then he just needed another way to flip that switch. It turns out one chemical does exactly that. An electron carrier that helps convert the iron back to its working form. So Cawein loaded a syringe and injected it. Within minutes, the blue began to drain out of their skin, and they turned pink. The chemical that cured the blue people of Kentucky was a dye. Its name is methylene blue. There was a catch. The fix was temporary. The enzyme was still missing, so the methemoglobin slowly crept back, and a repeat dose was needed to bring the color down again. Cawein left them a supply of pills, and for the first time, some of the family watched their own hands turn an ordinary pink. By then, the world was already changing around them. Roads finally reached the hollows. People married outside the valley, the carriers scattered, and the odds that had broken their way for a century quietly came apart. The blue began to fade from the family, one generation at a time. And that leaves one quiet question, the one this story is really about. The Fugates mostly weren't sick in the way outsiders assumed. Their blue blood carried them through long, full, ordinary lives, so the cure, the pills, the pink skin, was never really about saving them. It was about everyone else and the way a person who looks different gets treated like a problem to be solved. They weren't a curse or a warning or a freak show. They were a family who carried one rare gene in a valley the world forgot and got read wrong for 100 years. That is the real odd hypothesis here. Sometimes the strangest thing in the story isn't the people who look different. It's how the rest of us decide to see them. If you like the strange stories that turn out to be about something bigger, subscribe and stay curious.